Okay, excellent. So tonight, what we're going to do is we have Siva of MassMailer. He's the co-CEO, and he's going to talk us through email deliverability best practices, and he's also going to show us a little bit about the MassMailer product and how that can help with sending bulk emails and making sure that your message is getting out there, the deliverability is good, and you're not running into issues with the some of the things that you might run into if you were using the standard Salesforce platform. So we appreciate you being here, Siva. So whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and just get started.
Okay, thank you so much, Donna, for the introduction, and thank you so much for giving us the opportunity today. Nice to meet you all, even though I can't really see you in person, but I'm hoping that you had a good dinner today evening, and I'm sitting in Hawaii, so no complaints from my side as well. So
I know, can you imagine? we're all a little jealous.
All right, okay. Okay, so talking about email deliverability, I'm not going to bore you too much. I'm going to keep it very light and a little bit interesting, hopefully. So what is that we really have to do when we are sending out serious emails from any organization, right? We spend a lot of time planning email campaigns, and at the same time, we expect that, hey, we have to get the good results. But there's few things that we always miss out, the best practices, to get the right email deliverability. Meaning, let's say you're shooting something, right? And is it really reaching the destination or not? If you don't know, then you're, it's not in a good position to be in, right? So that's what we are trying to solve in simplest technology that has been invented in the past 15, 20 years. So again, the areas of discussion today is going to be the deliverability itself. What does deliverability mean, right? When you're sending out emails, you want to make sure that people are getting those emails in the inbox, but not in the junk. That's what your number one goal is. And that's what is the deliverability, right? And we also talk about the reputation and the compliance because they all go hand in hand. Reputation meaning, like when you're sending out emails, the internet servers are going to look at you to see, hey, is this person or is this domain a reputed domain or not? Is the IP address that they're sending out, is it reputed or not? This is most important. So basically, you should never get blacklisted, or not you, basically the domain and the IP address should never get blacklisted. You want to take all the measures that are necessary so that you're going to keep your reputation very high. Assuming that you follow all the best practices, but there's still going to be issues here and there. So you got to constantly monitor. So that's what is the goal. When you say that, hey, you want to really get a high deliverability, it's not a one-time thing. It's a constant monitoring that needs to happen in your organization. Okay? And the third thing is the compliance. This is very important just because a lot of countries have become very strict nowadays, especially the European Union has started looking at the data and the emails that are going out. So GDPR, as you all know, in the recent months, it has become very popular. US has got a CAN-SPAM law for a long time now. So you got to really follow the complaints. Otherwise, the hefty fines going to be there if you do not really follow these compliance laws. Okay. And talking about the deliverability, there are a few points that are very important. We all look at the content and how good looking it is, but we often forget the content that we have, is it spammy or not spammy? And how do we really know? Like the internet servers are very smart. They can catch hold of your subject line and also the email content and then flag some of them as spammy content. So it's very important for you to really know what is going to work and what is not going to work. And the tools available in order for you to really figure out whether your content is good or bad. And the list. So, I mean, now that you're gonna purchase lists, even if you do not, if you never purchase the list, that's okay. Let's say you have opt-in list, but is the opt-in list good or bad? How do you know? Meaning, like, people leave companies, and sometimes you got the stale data, and you keep sending emails, and you know, that's going to cause issues. So you got to really keep your email list very clean. Let's say you're in a prospecting business and you're actually sending out emails to prospects, and you got this data from somewhere, whether you bought it or acquired it or you created it your own, whatever means it is, you have quite a list. But you cannot really send email to the list that you acquired without cleaning it. Cleaning does not mean it is just like checking out the format of the email, whether it's got the @ symbol or .com symbol. No, it goes beyond that, meaning how like, let's say an employee left a company 3 months ago, but the company did not even kill the email address or the email account. They still have kept it for certain reasons. It could be just to catch hold of spammers sometimes. You know, it can happen. It actually happened with us. We were sending out emails to Salesforce themselves, and we figured out that they're also catching the spammers. So it's not so easy for you to really say, hey, my list is clean, I bought it, and somebody promised it's all a clean list. Do not trust them. You can use multiple cleaning systems and try to clean it multiple times and try to get a finite set. And also, when you're sending out emails, you do not want to send it like a huge volume. You got to batch it up. So there are many best practices you got to follow, right? And the authentication of the sender. So the sender meaning the domain itself and the IP address. These two things are very important. What does the authentication mean, right? So let's say you're sending out from a domain called abc.com. You got to prove that you are the abc.com or you own the abc.com and you're sending out email from that, not a spoof email or somebody trying to hack through your domain that you own and sending email. I mean, a lot of people do that, but they can't really get into your DNS server. There's something called DNS server. Again, not really going to two technical terms here. All it means is that you have a server which is sending out emails. That's one server, right? And you already have a server where you're hosting your web server. That's called your website. Yeah. So you have the domain that's hosted somewhere like GoDaddy kind of a thing, and then you're using, say, MassMailer kind of a system to send out email. So when it's blasting out email through MassMailer from abc.com that's hosted on GoDaddy, you have to tell the internet world that I actually own this. That's what is authentication. And there's little technical details on how you actually configure this, but just understand that you just have to follow the steps to authenticate your domain as well as the IP address. So here talking about the domain, sometimes you may have links in your email. You also need to make sure that you're branding the links. They're not like xyz.com, they're coming from abc.com. So that's very important too. Talking about the IP address, let's say you go with a MailChimp kind of servers. I'm not sure if they actually give you a dedicated IP address. Most likely you end up getting a shared IP address. All right. Now, talking about the IP address, the shared IP address versus the dedicated IP address. So if you go with a shared IP address, what it means that you may end up sharing that IP along with other customers, along with other organizations that are actually sending out email. And nobody has control on who is sending what. And if you get into an IP pool where other people are actually sending out spam email, most likely your domain is also going to get hurt. So, which means that you should never go with a shared IP address. You would always want to go with a dedicated IP address. It's very serious. Okay. Now, Talking about the reputation, how do we really make sure that our domain and IP address is not blacklisted? You follow all the things that we talked about in the previous slide. Along with that, you want to make sure that you are actually honoring all the opt-outs, meaning any email that you're sending out, you would want to have a provision for the recipient to opt out from your email quickly just by a click, right? Maximum 2 clicks, not more than that. Yeah. So honoring the opt-outs is very important. So which means that you need to have that unsubscribe mechanism, and also constantly looking at your IP and the domain to make sure that you're not blacklisted. So if you're blacklisted, there are ways to really get out of it. You can request the organization which is actually putting the blacklist. You may need to work with them a little bit, and they will trust you whatever information that you give, but they're going to watch you, for a few weeks and make sure that you're not repeating the same mistake. So, I mean, if you're blacklisted, it's not end of the world. You can still work it out. Okay. And the complaints, yeah. So we talked about complaints and the rules for each country. So again, it's not super complicated as such. Most of the tools, even Salesforce, has got a lot of mechanisms that you can follow, especially for GDPR. And the basics that you really want to follow is you want to make sure that you get an opt-in list always. But if you really have to prospect and do that's not opt-in list, that's okay. But as long as you follow the best practices and don't really send to high volume, maybe you can separate your main company domain versus the email domain, which is going to sound similar to your business. That's okay to do that. And you can also tell the internet servers that, hey, I'm actually prospecting by giving certain subdomain such as marketing.abc.com. So you're actually saying that, hey, I'm actually sending out marketing email, so which is authentic. You can follow certain best practices like that. And we talked about opt-outs, making sure there's a provision to opt out. And very important, signature line. Don't forget your signature line in all your emails, not just the name. Give your company name, give your address if you want to. At least the website, the address should be there, and your phone number, email address, all of that needs to be there. Yeah. And the from email, again, you want to make sure that you're authenticating yourself. This is very important when you're actually following. I mean, if you do not follow this, it's highly likely that your email is going to get delivered. Even if it gets delivered, nowadays Google actually puts that into a different slot, not in the inbox. So it happens, most of the clients nowadays. So it's very important that you actually authenticate your domain. Okay. Now, we are actually going to talk about MassMailer a little bit just because it's important that you understand what tool can really provide to you. So again, it's not a product pitch. I just want to kind of understand that the MassMailer solution can provide certain tools that you can leverage so that you get a best high email deliverability. MassMailer is a native Salesforce app. You can send emails to any object, standard object or a custom object. You can send mass email or a single email. You can leverage a campaign object, or you can leverage the wizard that we have. You can also use the Salesforce list views as well, or you can create advanced list views MassMailer provides. And then we have certain tools, deliverability tools that you can leverage to monitor your IP reputation and all that. We're going to take a look at that. And just a little bit more information now. Donna requested me to actually give you some inputs about MassMailer. Why MassMailer? Why not Salesforce email solution? So I kind of highlight a few things that Salesforce, the email solution, cannot do. Like we all know that Salesforce has got a daily email limit, like 5,000. And the email statistics and the events are kind of primitive. We actually go very advanced, like open clicks and spam report, bounces, whatnot. And they can't really help you with the email deliverability issues, Salesforce. They can only they get to one level there. I think they let you authenticate your domain. That's pretty much it. but you can't really just go and send emails from any domain that you wanted. But versus MassMailer, let's say you're in a staffing business and you're sending out emails from various high-profile candidates, and you may have hundreds of domains that you're actually using to send emails. That's okay. We'll help you. So any domain is okay. And then having a dedicated IP address, email address verification. I think I missed out talking about it. I just talked about it, sorry. So validating emails is very, very, very important. So we got tools for that. And like tracking email alerts through workflows is a very popular idea that has been posted. I think Salesforce is still not listening to them. I'm not sure why. So we do have, trackability mechanism. Any workflows that you trigger, like an email that you trigger via the process builder, we can track those email alerts. And you can also send out emails to the contact roles. And we have a feature through which you can actually have a subscription groups or the email preferences. We provide the multiple domain support, and also there's no restriction on who the sender is. You can send on behalf of someone else. That's possible. We support large email volume. We got customers sending out a few million emails per month. We got a very advanced email template builder. Even if you do not know HTML, that's okay. And we do have a way you can send drip campaign through the process builder. So that's in the feature. And then again, it's a kind of extension of what I just talked. So we support any object, standard or custom object. The create list views is very advanced. You can have the advanced filters from the respect, the current object in the context, or the parent object or the child object. We also have the advanced merge fields through which you can actually go to any level. Like let's say you wanted a merge field from the parent account to the parent account to the parent account. You can still do that, right? The drag and drop editor is very, very neat. I'll show it to you in the demo. And we have the email alerts and the drip campaign and monitoring feature and validation of emails, all of this. And again, why MassMailer? Not really spending too much. It's a native, just understand it's a native solution. That is the first and foremost reason why people come to us. And there is no problem with synchronizing the data because everything is right within Salesforce. And we got all the advanced tools for you to really be successful in sending out emails. So it's not just sending out emails. So we have the tools for you to really be successful when it comes to the email deliverability, right? And we support email attachments too, okay? So today's demo, we're gonna look at the MassMailer features. Along with that, I'll show you bits and pieces of the domain reputation, IP reputation, and how to check the deliverability score and all of that. So before I get into the demo, any questions I can answer?
Good question. Okay. You talked about their, getting blacklisted, and I was just curious, are there websites where you can go to look and find out if your company, your email is being blacklisted?
Oh, yeah. So I was going to show you that, how it actually looks.
Okay, then we can wait for that. The other thing I was curious about is if there's any like email cleaning services that you recommend. So
yeah, we do have. Sure. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that as well. Yeah.
Okay. And then the other one was, so you're using a dedicated IP with your product, or is that something that, we would need to, like the client would need to get the dedicated IP, or that's something that comes with MassMailer?
Yeah, it comes with MassMailer.
Okay. I think that was our questions. Does anybody else have any?
Okay. All right, wonderful. So I'm gonna actually start off with the best practices. Seems like that's an interesting topic for most of the crowd here. So the way you're actually gonna there's something called MassMailer Email Monitor. Yeah? So this is MassMailer. I'm not really showing the product yet. It's just one of the tools that we have here. You can test the deliverability by filling up this form. And then you can say what is the from name and the industry, let's say nonprofit. And what is your list size? Let's say sending out 10,000. And you're sending out to which country? So let's say you're sending out to United States. And yeah, we're going to have region as well. I think it's kind of missing in the current version, but otherwise, if you're sending out worldwide, we will have an option like worldwide. Also, the region-wise, meaning sending out to Asia or Europe, North America, you will have those options too. And then you select what template you're actually going to send out, and the template, whatever the template may be, and then what language this template is, right? And once you have that filled out, all you need to do is just click on this button called Test Email Deliverability, and that's going to send this the data, the meta information that you filled in to the servers in the backend. It's actually going to come up with a report. It takes like around anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes. It's going to process and then give you the results. So we're not going to wait for 5 minutes, and I'm actually going to pull up a report that I already ran before, and this is how it's going to look. And it'll like refresh the screen with this particular report, yeah. And we also send an email so that you don't have to wait on the screen. You can just relax and look at your email address. You will receive a link for the report. So if you look at this, it's got few items here. The snapshot that shows what is the score, the overall score, how much is good and how much is bad. Bad is, the red color is the bad, right? It's going to go to spam filters, 17.68. 82.32 is good, it's deliverable to the inbox. And it shows the region and the industry and all that, and how are you really in that specific industry, in that region. This kind of an email is actually above average, and it's above average. Okay, and if there are any issues, like such as the content issue, it's going to highlight what those issues are. Never use all caps. That's the first thing it always tells you. And if you have any questions about any of this report, there is more info or a help link. You just click on that. It's actually going to give you full details on what that particular section is talking about and what is the best practice, right? It's all over the place, actually. Every screen and every section you would see, like, for example, the weighted words is this question mark. You just have to click that and then go to more information. It's going to bring everything about how to really write a proper email. It's very important. Okay, and if you look at it, some of these words are highlighted in red color. Yeah, for example, avoid. It says that it's a discouraged word, and that's why it's in the list. And there are other words also are discouraged, so you know the list. And the recommended words, it gives you some alternate options. But again, this is English, right? So sometimes you may not be able to fit in one of these words, and perhaps you can come up with something else and then see how that is going to work out. So anything that's highlighted, it says that those words are discouraged. And also the content, it's going to again highlight certain words there and say, hey, don't use those words because those are discouraged, right? Sometimes it may not even have a suggestion, so it's a tool, so it may or may not give you the exact list. But you can figure out and see if this is making sense. If you think, hey, I really cannot change this content, that's okay, but it's actually just kind of giving a warning sign that, hey, there are certain servers in the internet that are actually looking for these kind of words, and they may kind of, look at your email as a spam email, but not necessarily is going to flag you as spam. It's just a warning, right? And it's giving you problematic phrases as well. And then coding and layout, if at all there's any problem with the layout itself, it's going to highlight that. So it's very important that you have a tool through which you are building out the email, which will not have too many issues with the layout. especially when it's HTML. And the links is very important. If you have any problematic link in your email, you wouldn't know unless and until you go through a tool like this. Like sometimes you may just link it to some outside article, but you do not know whether the website is good, bad, or whether it is blacklisted or not. So if you go through this tool, it's going to highlight if at all there's any problem with the link. One example is that one of our customers were actually using their logo from a domain that is given by their marketing agency. Marketing agency just hosted their company logo on our website and then just say, hey, just use this link. But they never knew that the domain is actually blacklisted, and they kept on sending emails, and they came to us saying, hey, we see some issues of the open rate and whatnot. We say, hey, let's run it through the tool. And we figured out that it's actually blacklisted, and immediately they rectified it, right? It can sound like a small issue, but it's a constant thing that can happen. So it's very important that you're actually monitoring, throughout your email campaign cycle. So this is about the content, yeah? And going to the infrastructure, so you can see that it highlights again the IP address in the domain, which IP the email has been delivered from, and the specific IP address. If it is a blacklisted IP address, it's actually going to list that specific organization. You will have to click on that link, and it's going to take you to the specific organization website through which you can know, okay, it got blacklisted. So again, you can understand about the blacklist by clicking on that specific link, and they will give you complete details on what it is, right? And then same thing here when it comes to SPF. I know we didn't really talk about the technical things behind this, but again, you don't really have to know this, what it is behind the scenes. As I said, you're sending out email like GoDaddy, using a server like MassMailer, but you need to send out emails to the recipients that are all over the world, and the internet servers are actually trying to monitor who is sending, is he authentic or not, right? You just have to tell the world that you're authentic domain and authentic IP address. That's all what it means. There are certain frameworks that have been developed by bigger companies like Yahoo and all that long back, Microsoft of the world, and you just have to follow certain like a framework, and we will help you with that. You just have to set it up on your DNS servers, and then we'll validate it. As long as it's all in good, like a green color, you're good, right? And same with the DMARC as well. Okay. And then the compliance. So if you're having any cookies, nowadays you have to have that cookie policy on your website itself. Anybody coming to your website, you will have to open up and say, hey, we're using cookies, and you can go to an extent where you're actually like describing each and every cookie what it is, right? You can do that too. Especially when you're sending out emails, and if those domains are having cookies, we actually identify those cookies, and if there's any problem, we highlight those problems with those cookies too. And most importantly, the previews. When you're sending out email, how do you know the email is rendering properly on the email client that your recipient is using? They may be using Apple Mail, Gmail, iPhone, or Microsoft Outlook, Yahoo. But is your email going to look like the way it is on your desktop? You don't know. So that's the reason why we came up with this tool. We can actually do a client preview and see how it's going to look like on, let's say, on iPhone X, right? Make sure it's all good, and then if it's looking good, then you can. You can't test every single thing. Even though we provide like maybe around 50 or so, you can pick up the popular ones. And then just open up and make sure it's all looking fine. Yeah. Microsoft Outlook is actually very tough to deal with, so you would always want to check the Microsoft Outlook, how it is going to render on Outlook. Yeah? So this is about the preview, client previews. Any questions on this topic so far?
No, I think it's good. Thanks.
Okay. And just touching on the sender authentication, how we do it. Again, this is just to give you an idea. When we onboard you, we will do the authentication here. For example, you say, hey, I have my domain as xyz.com. We provide these DNS values, which is what you're going to set up on your DNS servers. One-time setup, and we verify this, make sure it's good. We also do a test email, like a real email, and make sure that it's all in good condition. So that's about the domain authentication, and same thing as the link branding. We brand your links with the specific domain that you want to send email from. If you have multiple domains, like here in this account, we have 2 domains are listed. So you can have as many domains as possible. We will authenticate all of them. And the same thing, we would provision an IP address. So there's going to be a dedicated IP address that we would provision, which is what we recommend, even though we do have a concept of shared IP address, but that's something that we always say, hey, don't go with the shared IP. And they'll be assigned to you, and it'll be pointing to a specific domain. If you have, if you're a high volume sender, for example, 1 million emails per month, you definitely need to have minimum 2 IP addresses pointing to the same domain. So you can have a pool, IP pool created as well. So that's much more advanced topic. I think you'll be able to see that in the demo. So that's about the authentication. And then we're going to talk about the compliance a little bit, but just to touch base on the email validation, I think somebody asked a question. Do we recommend any email service providers outside? Well, MassMailer has a list verification feature through which you can validate your list. We do use a partner called Zero Bounds, quite popular. That's our partner company that we use to clean your list. You can compare the results from other vendors as well. There are many that are popular, like Zero Bounds. There's Never Bounds, Bright Verify, Zero Verify. There's so many out there. So, I mean, how do you really compare all of this? We did that ourselves, and we figured out that maybe Zero Bounds is the best out of the lot when it comes to pricing and the quality and the support. These 3 things were very important for us. So that's how we partner with them. And how do you really validate your emails in Salesforce? It's again native app. So we have something called email verification date, status and substatus. These details will get populated. Something called MassMailer email verify. When you click on this button, it actually processes the email and then gives you whether information on whether this is a valid email address or not a valid email address. If it is not a valid email address, it's actually going to give you the reason why it is not valid, and also it invalidates, meaning there's a flag that actually gets checked and it is invalid. And if it is invalid, we do not send emails to that particular contact or lead. So that's how we actually validate the emails. And there is a way you can actually bulk validate. There's a button on the campaign. Also, on the wizard, there is a button to validate the emails. Those are the 2 ways you can actually validate in bulk. So that's about the validation service, just to touch base on that. And then complaints, we were talking, okay, this came up. This is how it looks once the results come out. Seems like this is actually below average, a lot of deliverability issues. And then it's highlighting the vocabulary and the copywriting. I know this is just a simple email that I just typed in before this demo. So it's kind of highlighting what the problems are, right? Again, you can go through this and then fix all the issues, right? And what else we're going to talk about? The signature line, or the compliance. Again, I'm sure you all have signature in your email, but Salesforce has got that merge field concept through which you can send out email, and the email template can have the signature that has merge fields that you're using from the user object, perhaps, right? This is just a small, like a very simple template that I just created. I didn't really talk about template builder there, but I'll get to the point. So basically, I just want to show it to you that you can actually use this merge fields right here. and that becomes the signature for you. And I believe you can actually bring up the image also from a field, because user has a photo URL. That URL you can actually embed because it's just a field on the object, and then you can bring up that photo as well. So it's possible to just bring this up so that you don't really have to upload it all the time. So you can create a template. It's called base template. I'll show you in a moment, and that can be shared across your team. When they're using a base template, they already get this particular thing, the bottom, the footer, and then they can actually just go fill rest of the details. Let's say this becomes your base template, and they'll just go. Your users can actually just go type in whatever the email that they need to send out. That's kind of a concept, yeah. And when the recipient actually receives the email, they would see something like this, right? And they already have this information that is good in a way, and also they have this unsubscribe link, so they can actually unsubscribe. And this can be formatted. I know this is just a demo, so I didn't really get time to format it, so it's actually coming right below the email template. You can actually center this. It's possible to do it. So this is what I was saying. So, I mean, this is a demo thing, so I didn't really authenticate. So it's saying via SendGrid.net, yeah, because we use SendGrid as the email server. You want to make sure that this is actually showing up as your domain, company domain, that's abc.com. That's what the email authentication means, right? Again, when you actually go to the original email, there's something called SPF, DKIM, which I was showing it to you. It shows path, means it's all in good condition, and it shows the IP address that you're sending out from. So this is what is important. This is how you actually test it. If it says fail, which means there's a problem with the SPF and DKIM. So this is one simple way to really test it out, but it really doesn't tell you what is the problem with the SPF DKIM. That's where the email monitor, MassMailer email monitor comes in picture. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? I was going to show a quick MassMailer demo as well before that.
I think we're good.
Okay. All right. So MassMailer, yeah, thank you so much, Tom. It's very easy to use. Again, it's all native. You can see these tabs. This is Enlightening. It's Outreach Wizard, through which you can send email. There are 3 different ways you can actually send email. This is one of them. And list views, through which you can actually create your list view. Template builder, we just talked about this. Even though I didn't really show you how quickly you can create a template builder because we're on this tab, I can actually very well do that quickly. And you can see how easy it is to use the template builder. There's 2 sub-tabs you would see: manage email template, manage base template. I was telling you that if you have a header and a footer, you want to just create that in the base template, drag and drop, and then that becomes your base template. And then you can give that base template to your users and say, hey, you can go ahead and use that base template, right? And they come here and they say, hey, I want to create a template in this folder. If they want to use a base template, they can actually use one of them, and that loads up and they can change it. If not, they can actually just go, just create it on their own. Let's say we try creating on our own. Let's call this newsletter. And then here in this editor, 3 things, yeah, like content, rows, and settings. Rows meaning this is a row. You can have 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns, or up to 4 columns, and various sizes. Yeah, I'm going to go drag and drop the 1 column here, 1 more column there, 1 more, and then here I'm gonna drag and drop that, and then maybe the social icons I would need 1 more. Just gonna play with this. Let's see. And then this one, content, let's make it as a header image, and this is going to be a divider, and this is going to be a text, and this is going to be a divider, and this is going to be a text, and let's say this is your image, and let's say this is your social. Okay, let's see what we can do with this, right? And if you browse, you have options to upload from a desktop, or you can actually import from any of these options. That is, like from a URL, Facebook, Gmail, Dropbox, Google Drive, all of that. You can also search for free photos if you want to embed some good images, and you don't want to really spend time and money on creating one of your own, right? Okay, let's go ahead and pick that. And then let's say this is your the body, and you want to type in and you want to pick a merge field. And how do you know what is a merge field is, right? Let's say you want to send out emails to lead, and you want to find out what is a merge field for the first name. You select that first name, and it's going to give you the merge field. And you cut that, or you can copy and paste it there, and that's your merge field. Okay. And then this is a demo newsletter. And then here, let's say you have, again, the same thing. You want to have the merge fields, let's say, best regards, and then you want to have the merge field. I'm going to quickly type in, let's say, user first name, yeah? And then user phone, kind of thing, right? User phone and organization. You can have the organization field, and then name, right? So that becomes your merge field, right? And you can change the size, and you can also change the font. It's quite easy. And again, uploading, if you want to upload some image, that's fine. All you need to do is just pick and choose what image it is. And now you can actually see how powerful it is. I'm going to adjust the size of this image, see? And then I'm going to align it to the left side, right? And if you don't want this to be shown on the mobile, you can actually, there's a way to hide it on the mobile, right? You can change this as well, like all sides, how much you want to do it. And then you can have a link. If you want to put a LinkedIn URL link right here, you can put that, or maybe send an email, right? Somebody clicks on this and it sends an email. And you can have alt text as well. And this is actually very easy to do. Again, the social icon. So let's say you don't want Instagram, delete this, and you say, hey, you want my G+, Google, and then let's say you don't like this and you want to change it to something else, just change it right there, right? So it's easy to actually play with your social icons, and you can actually have your own the URL. And I believe you can change this as well, the alternate text and all that. Okay, the more options. So that's how you create a template, and you save this in the editor itself because it's just a plugin, and then you can save it to Salesforce by clicking on the button, and the template is saved. Okay, so that's how you create a template, and then you go to the list views, and the list views is also very easy and powerful. This is a custom list view that we create, not related to Salesforce list views. And let's say you want to create something, click on new button, and then you pick up the object and give a name to the view. Let's say we call this as September 24th demo view. And then the object, we support all on standard and custom object. I'll actually show it to you how to do that. And you can see this filter criteria is on the field for this particular object. You can also go to the parent. You can have the advanced filter criteria, and you can also filter based on child records as well. And you want to display different fields when you want to preview, that's fine too. You can select all of them. Okay. Let's say we're going to have a very small, a simple filter. I'm going to call it as email, and then equals to, let's email address, and then preview. It gives the result. If you're happy, then say save, and that becomes your list view. Okay. And now the next step is going to the outreach wizard. You may be thinking, hey, I don't want to create my list views using MassMailer. I have list views in Salesforce. Can I send email? Answer is yes, you can do that. I'll show it to you. Okay, so here, this is a step-through process. You actually go through this yourself. It's so easy. Right now, we have a channel-only email. We are adding the SMS, MMS, voice, and WhatsApp too. sometime in the coming months. So you would have multiple channels to send out an outbound campaign. The campaign name is editable. I didn't edit it though. And then you pick what object you're sending emails to. You may have a question, hey, can I send emails to the parent object and the child object? Answer is yes, that feature is coming. You can do that very soon. And then let's say, I don't know which view I created earlier. I'm going to just pick something and then say next. And then here you just have to pick what template you're going to use and the folder. And these folders are nothing but the Salesforce folders. Yeah. If you ever used Salesforce email templates, we store the templates in the same folder. It's not in a custom object. The only thing is that when you're using template builder of MassMailer, you cannot load other templates that you created outside of MassMailer into the template builder. That's the only catch. But if you want to just have your own HTML, that's fine. You just load it up into Salesforce templates and then use it in MassMailer. Here also we provide the merge field section just in case. And you got this template information. You can do A/B testing too. You can also have the preview text as well. And this is your template. If you need to make any changes, you can actually just do that. There's my demo email. And then you save the changes, whatever you made, and then you go to the next step. Here you can actually upload any file. You can upload it from computer, Salesforce, attachments, document, or content. Uploading is very straightforward. All you're doing is, sure. If you don't mind, I'm picking up some picture there. Okay, all right, let's go to the next step. Okay, so this is very important. You can send email as a logged in user, or you can actually define a global sender. Let's say you have a company email, it could be something, or any generic email that you're going to use. You can actually use that. You can also send as a record owner. You can also actually send on behalf of someone. So you just fill it out right here, the name, address, from address in the reply. Let's say we pick up this global sender, and you can also do CC. Yeah, if you have like a spouse email address, a secondary email address, you want to CC, you can do that. You can do BCC. That's an option if you need it for compliance purpose. And then deliverability, the delivery options, you can send it now or schedule it on a specific date and time. The advanced feature that we have is if you want to have email preferences instead of global and subscribe, you can do that and create these groups. You can also create IP pools if you're really want to secure your IP reputation for marketing emails versus the transactional emails versus product emails. You can do that with IP pools. You can suppress the unsubscribe link if you're sending out to your customers. You don't want the link to be there, which is understandable. So you can always suppress it. And then finally, you're going to review everything and make sure that it's all good. And if you're happy, all you need to do is just go click finish button. That sends out email. It actually creates an outreach record. Again, it's a custom object that we create. It's more like a holder object or a container object, which holds all the meta information about what campaign you sent, to who and who is the sender, when is it scheduled, and what are the statistics like opens and clicks. All of that gets stored right here. It gives the status information as well, and the outreach statistics actually gets logged. Every 10-15 minutes, actually, we run a bad job, and it populates this statistics. And then the actual lead itself that you send out will also have the tracking, meaning the opens and clicks. Or if it is bounced, we also track all the bounces too. And if it is spam report, we flag that too. And also we log the activity history here. It's a Salesforce standard activity history. You can enable email message. We have a support for that. And you can see that the email status is delivered. We also flagged what time it happened, which outreach record it's related to, what is the subject. Somebody clicked on it. We also tracked the clicked URL. And if it bounced, we also flagged what is the bounce reason. So we get to that granular thing. Yeah. So that's about email status. And then maybe I should stop there and ask you if you have any questions before I actually go to the other features. I know we already spent an hour.
Yeah. So we got about probably maybe five more minutes of the presentation time. Does anybody have any specific questions? I mean, I think it looks good. I like the drop and drag. Kind of reminded me a little bit of some of the sections like of WordPress. I did have a question about how you write the task to the record for the person, like the lead or the contact. Is that optional? Like, can you turn that
which
off?
one?
Where it writes on the record of the contact that the email was sent, if people have like space constraints, is that optional?
We absolutely, yeah, we thought about it, and we do have a batch job that you can actually schedule, even though I don't have that in this particular the instance.
You don't have to. I'm just curious.
Right. You can turn off. Yeah. Okay. You can turn off, and then right. Yeah.
Great. Okay.
And also you can turn off the activities if you don't want some of them. Let's say you don't want to see whether it is processed. For example, hey, just say select, and then that's it. This is you can save it, right? So you can turn off the event logging as well. Okay. So that's about it. And then very important, I think without this, the demo won't be finished. So let me show it to you. This is where you actually enable the objects for MassMailer. So by default, we have all this, and then you can see this course is actually a custom object I enabled here. It's very easy to enable any object. All you need to do is pick the object for which you want to support email for, and select the email and just click save. That's it. And then the page layouts need to have the buttons. You can actually add those buttons on the page layout. That's also very simple. Okay.
That's good.
And sending out email from object is available. That's there. And then I'm not going to click on this, but it's actually going to take you to the same screen as the outreach record. And campaigns, we do have a support for campaigns too. So you can create a regular Salesforce campaign and then click on a button called Send via MassMailer, or we have a button called New MassMailer Campaign. You click on that, it actually takes you to step 3 process again, just 3 steps, and then you're good to go. Create a campaign. You add your campaign members in the next step. Again, just select, and then add campaign members, and then you're done, and you go to the next step of sending email. There's the outreach wizard, which loads up, and then you go through this entire thing. So that's how you send out emails to the campaign, but the campaign is limited to only leads or contacts, as you know. So that's a limitation, but it's got a lot of advantages because it's basic reporting that you get on campaign and whatnot. Okay.
Awesome.
I think pretty much covered everything. You have a lot more to
show,
but
that's good.
yeah. Right. So any questions? Feel free to shoot an email to me. I'm gonna pull up my contact info. So this is my email address. You can also go to our website, massmailer.io. Please remember it's .io. And then submit a query there, or you can send me an email directly, siva.devaki@massmailer.io. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Excellent. One quick question. Do you offer discounts to nonprofits for
Yes.
the,
yeah, we do have 10% discount, but if somebody is coming from your group, and take your name, and I'll give additional 10 more %.
Awesome. All right. Well, this has been very informative. I appreciate it. Thanks. Anybody else have any? Well, thank you for taking the time to present to us. And if you could process or send me a link to the recording, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
And then we can go ahead and get that up on our user group, so that the people that couldn't attend today can go ahead and watch that.
Absolutely. I'll do that today, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone, for attending the session.
Thank you. Thanks, Eva.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
You too.
Mahalo.